thanks to the generosity of a friend, I've come into quite a few samples from Guerlain's L'Art et Matière collection. I was quite excited to have these as I've tried the line on and off through the years, but never was able to score a sample. So I feel like I really need to get a take-home sample, wear it a few times to really wrap my head around a fragrance and know how I feel about it. I tried them from time to time throughout the years. One of my regrets is I remember it was around COVID times that they were planning, I think after things got better, to release the newly repackaged Art et Matière. And I had been eyeing Derby for quite a while, but I couldn't find it in store to try, and I wasn't comfortable blind buying it. But it showed up on like Bloomingdale's and Neiman. And I even remember Bloomingdale's had like a spend 200, get 50 off promotion. And I came so close to buying it, but I talked myself out of it thinking, wait to go try it. Don't waste your money on a blind buy. And of course, that's the last chance anybody got to buy Derby for a reasonable price. So I've still never tried it. At the time, what talked me out of it was that it's often described as a bit old-fashioned, like a very classic, like gentlemanly leather, and that's not really my style. So I remember kind of bugging Guerlain counters to try anything I could have, but they weren't widely stocked. I had tried Frenchie Lavande. I had tried, I think the one, I'm forgetting the names, the one named after the detective novel, Arsène Lupin. And I always thought they were very elegant and soft, but just trying them at the counter, they never stood out to me and I didn't love them enough to make it worth even the price back then. So when they repackaged and repriced them, I thought, well, now they're really not worth it. And I just had little interest in even trying any of them out. So I largely ignored them. I also feel like I've tried various Aqua Allegoria and other Guerlain releases at a Guerlain counter here, and I didn't want to keep bugging the same girl that I always see there to try them. So now having a hookup at a store where I can get lots of samples is really great, and I've had a lot of fun trying these. By the way, he needs clients. He doesn't work in the fragrance counter. He works in the fashion side of Saks, but he can help you with the fragrance counter. So I don't want to give out any personal information, but if you plan on shopping at Saks New York, send me a DM and I'll send you his way. So here we go. The first thing, the overall impression, and why I have this plushie here, is I feel like Guerlain's signature style, or at least the ones I've tried here, is so cuddly, at least of the older Art et Matière. I feel like there has been a shift in more recent releases by Delphine Yelk. But it's so cuddly. I wore these day after day throughout the last week, and I really feel like I'm swaddled, like I've been wearing sweatpants around the house all day. Or I'd say they're not that informal, so maybe just wearing a cashmere tracksuit. I haven't literally been wearing that, but fragrance-wise, my style, I think I can see there's like a Chanel and Guerlain two camps, because I feel like they represent very different personalities. Chanel is, of course, cold, chic, modern, and I kind of miss that, wearing these cozy, fuzzy, warm vanilla fragrances. I'm like, I want to straighten my back, and I want Chanel to kind of like whip my wrists and tell me to stand up properly, and I want some structure, some shoulder padding, and some like a corset at the waist, because I just feel like I'm just like been sloppy and oozy and warm in these Guerlains. But if that's what you like, then Guerlain is the house for you. Part of my motivation too is I've been kind of wanting to find a vanilla I like, because I usually don't like vanilla. I don't own any vanilla focused fragrances, and I thought Guerlain's the house to try. So I think we'll start with my favorite, one I had tried at the counter before and still running as my favorite, Bois d'Armenie. This people often compare to Bois d'Argent, which I have. It used to be kind of a signature fragrance when I only had a few. So it's a very familiar smell. They're obviously not exactly the same, and I'm kind of in the process of debating and comparing, and I will do so here, the two, to see if I would find it redundant to own Bois d'Armenie and Bois d'Argent. What distinguishes this for me is really the benzoin, really kind of like creamy, resinous, dry down that's vanilla adjacent without smelling exactly like vanilla. Very cozy. I really like the opening. The opening, you get some more kind of like woods, a little wisp of incense. It never goes smoky, but incensey. But like Bois d'Argent, it just feels kind of impossibly elegant, like very elegant, very suave. I would say actually fairly formal, although still having that warmth and coziness to it. I actually haven't done this yet, so I'll do it here on camera. I'll compare it to Bois d'Argent and see just how similar or different. To my mind, before I spray it, Bois d'Argent is a little airier and, to be honest, a little more synthetic. I think it's kind of well documented. There's a big old slug of ambroxan in Bois d'Argent, which isn't always a bad thing. It gives it that mysterious, airy sillage, whereas the Guerlain honestly smells a bit more expensive to my nose. This is one of those fragrances that's a little like stuck in time for me. It reminds me so much of the time that I used to wear it a lot that I find it difficult to wear now. Yeah, instantly I get something almost more boozy, less woody. It's hard to say that this smells more expensive. This smells more natural. This smells more formal. I can't dissociate kind of Hedi Slimane at Dior's like tuxedo, skinny rocker tuxedo look with this smell. Oh, it's good though. That brings back memories. I get a lot more iris in this. I don't notice any iris in Bois d'Armani. But Bois d'Armani is maybe a little smokier, a little woodier. We'll let those dry down and see. So if I'm to buy one, Bois d'Armani is kind of top of my list. Next, probably second favorite is Cuir Beluga, which I've got here. Again, they're all, I kind of picked ones that were similar, so I know there's more variety if you really go throughout the line, but I feel like there's very much a through line. You can tell them apart, they're not the same, but there's such a similar feel and dry down to these. Cuir Beluga is kind of like even softer, even more elegant cousin to Bois d'Armani. It doesn't have the smokiness, but it has a little bit more. Yeah, it does. It's not overtly leather, but I suspect it's an iris giving like a smooth suede. To me, this is like one of those really mysterious, addictive fragrances. It wears extremely light. I was having trouble perceiving it, but that almost adds to its mystique. Like someone who, you know, Yohji Yamamoto is famous for saying that like he finds the sexiest thing when a woman is like fully clothed and draped because there's mystery there. Not everything's on display. So I feel like the quietness of this creates a real sophisticated mystery. And I found myself really enjoying this. Although at times I wished I could smell it more, but maybe it would lose that mystique. And again, both these have a warm kind of vanillic, resinous dry down. I think Cuir Beluga is more overtly vanilla, where Bois d'Armani is more that benzoin vanillic feel. While we're on the vanilla train, we've got the vanilla Spiriteuse Double Vanille. This one surprised me, and in kind of a good way. I suppose because of the name, you're thinking double vanilla, ultimate vanilla. It's going to be like vanilla in your face, but it also has a soft quietness to it, a subtlety, and a freshness, which was unexpected to me. I was expecting this to be really, really rich custardy, but especially at the start, it has a fresh, almost green quality. Jean-Claude Elena does something really interesting with vanilla in Vanille Galant, that he takes it in like this green tropical ylang ylang kind of direction, which makes sense because vanillas come from orchids. They're a tropical plant, and he makes a vanilla kind of unlike any other. And I'd say this doesn't go that route, but the sort of green, almost like humid freshness at the start reminds me of that. This one also surprised me by being quite a bit lighter than I expected. And I thought it's a little too simple. I felt I got bored of it, but it is one of those where I smelled it the next day. I wore it at night and I thought, ooh, that smells really good. What was left over was really kind of intoxicating. So that's Spiriteuse Double Vanille. Quite a bit softer and yeah, fresher, greener than I had imagined. Then we've got Tonka Imperial. This one I wore most recently. I wore yesterday. And reading reviews, this is a lot of people's favorites of the art and material, especially people who, you watch reviewers, you get a feel for their taste. People who are into sweet vanilla, they love Tonka Imperial. And I will say, out of these, it is the sweetest. But again, not overly sweet and also not huge. It also wore fairly soft. To me, this was the most kind of one note and boring of all though. But it does have that kind of almond facet, kind of like a cooling almond facet that you get with Tonka. And of course, echoes of vanilla. Also kind of a freshness. It's not overly sweet or heavy or dark and dense. Still a pleasant airiness, but I just found a little simple. I think if you're a Tonka fiend and want like a Tonka Soli nut, not a Soli floor, definitely try it out. It's a well done Tonka, but it bored me a little bit after a while. While we are on my other ones aren't really in the same genre. Got Jasmine Bonheur. I had tried this before. Really nice at the start, but the dry down had some kind of cloying laundry musk to me. I think everyone's taste in musk is very personal. There's certain clean musks that I can get along with and others that I can't. And this just had a musk that lasted forever in the base that really bugged me. And when we're talking about modern ones, this is my scent of the day-to-day. Tobacco Honey. I tried it once before, but it was the end of summer, so I gave it another shot. And here's where you see the huge stylistic shift between the older and the newer art A material. I'm not one to say the sky is falling. I kind of get tired of those reviewers who every new release is like another peg in the coffin of a brand that used to be great, just going downhill. Things aren't always getting worse. Sometimes they're going sideways. Sometimes they're going parallel. Sometimes they're going up and back down. But there's a distinct stylistic difference between this. This is much more sillage, much sweeter. To me, much more synthetic. It has that big projecting synthetic sweetness. It is very well done. Again, I think if you like tobacco and you like honey, this might be one of the best in genre, but I don't particularly like either of those, but I found it wasn't tough to wear. I didn't hate it, but I didn't like it either. This kind of sillage and projection to me is like somebody just chatting in your face all day. It just like starts to get really annoying. You're just like, all right, calm down. People who like beast mode who want to be noticed. I actually was kind of thinking about like personalities and like I would be embarrassed almost to wear this in public. Like that guy is shouting his big sweet fragrance from across the room. Like, what's that guy about? But yeah, that's why fragrances are so tied to personality. And I think that's why people get so heated about their taste, myself included. When someone really trashes something I love, or when someone really loves something I think is trash, it's easy to be like, oh, that person's a complete idiot. And maybe they are, or maybe you just have, different personalities and different things speak to you. A lot of times they just are though. So tobacco is just so sweet. It's so big. It really sticks out like a sore thumb next to these other ones, which are so quiet. They're so detailed to me, especially Bois d'Armenie. It feels like it just has all these little fine little points that you notice throughout the day, but you have to really pay attention, as well as Cuir Beluga. They just kind of whisper in your ear and become more and more intriguing. The final thing I wanted to test side by side was Louis, which also gets compared to Bois d'Armenie. I scored this bottle just in time off discounters for a very low price. Nobody cared about this fragrance at the time. It was like $50. And it got rebranded as Oya Purple, which can be purchased for $380 and is now discontinued, which means people might try to charge even more than that, which is really funny how value is in the eye of the beholder or the repackager. And I gotta say, unfortunately, this is the way things go. When Guerlain repackaged and repriced, I thought, I'm not touching it. I'm not touching one of those. I wasn't interested at $200. Why am I going to be interested at $380? And then a few years pass and you start to think, oh, well, it's like revisiting an ex. You start to have a change of heart after the initial shock sinks in. So now I'm considering picking up an art material. But let's try these out now that they've had a bit. I think Louis as well is really all about benzoin. To me, even though it lists incense, it's missing any smokiness. It's all creaminess. There's carnation, which gives it a little bit more of like an old-fashioned feel and a little bit of a spice. You know, carnations are kind of a spicy flower. I've worn these all in the last week, one day after the other, so I could really get a good side-to-side comparison. I'll probably give it a week break and then come back and revisit my favorites before making any rash decisions. But let's try out the side-by-side of the three cousins. Yeah, Bois d'Harmonie, if I could summarize it, it's the woodiest. I can smell the cedar coming through a little bit. It makes sense. Bois means wood. Bois d'Argent, yeah, they're clearly brothers, but they don't look alike. Like, you can tell they're from the same family, but they're not twins. You can tell them apart. Bois d'Argent next to it is a bit sweeter and more iris, if I could be concise. Louis is, yeah, obviously more carnation. I get this visual of like a vanilla custard, like a pudding whenever I smell this, like a round ball of like white chocolate, but it's not that sweet. But to me, it's very white, white and creamy. Yeah, of the same family. Maybe it's just like looking for the next one bias, but to me, my favorite right now is the one I don't have. But isn't that always the case? Bois d'Argent is lovely though. I haven't smelled this in quite some time. It's really nice. But they're distinguishable. And I like the scent profile. Just like, to me, I wouldn't need more than one honey perfume because I don't like it that much, or more than one big strong vanilla. But if you like a scent profile, sometimes you want every little variation you can get, because that's, you know, where all the fun is. Cuir Beluga, what are you doing? Yeah, it's so soft but intriguing. It's like a little vanilla, a little iris, little wisps just kind of like brushing against you. Sorry, I'm getting romantic here. Also, I can't help but love that it's an Olivier Polge. He's maybe one of my favorite perfumers. So I think that's all I have to say about the Art et Matière. Let me know if you have a favorite. I have tried all the ouds. I've tried most of the newer releases at the counter because those tend to be easier to sample or get samples of, because they get them when they're newly released. But I think I did a video where I talked about those and I didn't really like them. But there's definitely some winners in the back catalog of this line. Definitely still worth giving some time and attention to.